waving leaflets. There's lots of leafleting to be done and other activist type things. So if you can volunteer and help with that, please see Jeff over at that table after we finish. Now, the good news. Today, this very day, at 3:45 p.m. in the Supreme Court in Melbourne, we got the judgment on the Brown Mountain court case. For those of you who've never heard of Brown Mountain, it's in East Gippsland. It's got the most fabulous old forests. It's stuffed full of wildlife. It's got trees that have been carbon dated to 600 years plus. And a very courageous environment group called Environment East Gippsland, Jill Redwood, some of you may know, took Vic Forests to court. They put up, it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, so they've put their whole lives on the line for this. And today, the judgment in Melbourne came down at 2:45, and we won! That is truly fantastic. It is going to have implications for logging and native forests right around the country. And not least in the southeast, down here at Eden and the forests of the southeastern corner. And those of you coming in will have seen the trailer out down on the road there with a great big no logging and wood chipping and no biomass burning banner down there. The picture on that trailer is a picture of Brown Mountain and what has happened to part of it and what would have happened to the rest if this court case hadn't been successful. So we're starting to turn the corner. It's fantastic for forests, it's fantastic for wildlife, it's fantastic for the climate. Anybody who can help, donations to help get that trailer around the rest of Eden Monero over the next week or so, please see John Perkins, where are you, John, over here, after this, and see what you can do to help him as well. So, over to our final two speakers for their final statements, 3 minutes each, and you'll get a 30-second warning, and it'll be brutal. So, who'd like to go first?
I'll go first.
Lynn?
Neither of us are feeling that we necessarily need 3 minutes. I'm going to sum up saying, coming back, I want to cycle back to the concept of real commitment now. We need a price on carbon because our future depends on it. We need a price on carbon now. We need to move beyond coal and towards a heavy investment and dependence on renewables. We need to protect our climate and biodiversity, and we need to protect our old growth forests. And what a fantastic win this afternoon for Brown Mountain. We are turning the corner. One of my very favourite quotes is from Margaret Mead, who said, famous anthropologist, and she said, "They tell me the actions of a few can't change the world. I tell you it's the only thing that ever has." And if you look back over the course of the sweep of human history, the times when we've had paradigm shift, whether it becomes slowly or whether it's a quick shift, has been always because of people's movements, because of ordinary people like us who care, who get together, who act, who persist, who hope, who risk. Everybody in this room falls into that category, and I salute you for that. I can think of very few issues that match climate change in importance. It is, I think, one of, I don't know that it's the greatest moral generation, I think of starving children as well, but I think it is one of the greatest moral challenges of our generation. So I hope we all go home tonight and lie awake and think, what am I doing to make a difference? What am I doing? How am I being an activist? I don't know if you've seen the green ads on television. I'm only seeing television at functions like this at the moment because I'm out all the time. But there's a fantastic ad of Bob in front of a green triangle, and the tagline in the ad that I love, he says, "Green. We care about people, we think long term, we stand up for the environment." I hope you will consider voting Green on August 21 in the Senate. It's a game changer for Australia. If we get a Green senator here in the ACT, we become the first jurisdiction without Conservative representation. That's pretty attractive to me. We neutralise Steve Fielding, we change the balance of power in the Senate, and we have 9 months more of a progressive approach. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad I got the last word. Well, thank you very much for organising tonight's forum. I think it's been incredibly helpful. It's a great insight into the commitment and passion of many Canberrans. And I'm convinced that the Canberra community can set the example for the rest of the country. the commitment by our ACT Labor government. I think the efforts of Mike Kelly in Eden Monero and the activity there to look at their target of 50% renewable energies by 2020 is incredibly ambitious and worthy. Combined, I think this whole region does have the opportunity to provide to the rest of the country the inspiration of not just the how-to, but the wherewithal and the political consensus amongst our communities that this is where we need to go. We can set the example. From Labor's point of view, we know that many people are disappointed that we've not been able to act quicker. But what you need to be assured about is that A, we tried. We tried 3 times in the Senate, and the political environment did not allow us to place a market-based scheme on, for a price on carbon in place. In the meantime, we have legislated on our renewable energy targets, and there's a whole raft of things, and I will just run through the list to reassure you that we are doing a broad range of public policy initiatives that point to our commitment and demonstrate our commitment. So first of all, we will conduct a citizens' assembly using the CPRS as the basis for that discussion. There will be an emissions standards for power stations in our ongoing commitment to carbon capture and storage ready power stations. We have committed to $1 billion towards connecting renewables to the grid, the Connecting Renewables Initiative. We have a renewable energy venture capital fund to help resolve some of those blockages in the market as well. We will establish a climate change commission to inform the debate on climate change and explain the science of climate change. There will be tax breaks for green buildings to provide the business incentives to make those investments. We will be reducing pollution where we live, work and how we travel. Now, I haven't had a chance to go through this, but the investment and subsidy of solar panels on Australian rooftops, for all its problems, putting insulation in the roofs of houses in this country. We have been investing in our public schools to look at more energy efficiency in our school system and our high schools and colleges. And we also, of course, have a terrific relationship with state and territory governments, working together with them to try and achieve our goals of lightening our carbon footprint and to address this problem fundamentally. I ask that you consider voting Labor. I know in this room it's a tough ask because many of you here are motivated specifically by the Greens political party and their claims for climate change. But when you cast your vote, please remember there is a political reality called a parliament in this country, and it's Labor that are trying to navigate that, and we will continue to do so with energy and vigour if we are re-elected on the 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to wind up, thanks to Richard for emceeing this evening, thanks to all of you for coming, and thanks particularly to Lynn and Kate for giving us their time in a very busy couple of weeks. And most of all, don't forget on Saturday week, vote climate. Go and see Jeff, who's waving his pamphlets over there, and stick around, have something to eat. You can order meals until 8:30, have a drink, have a discussion, and thanks heaps. Bye.
Here, why for your vote? I'm Anne O'Brien. I'm the convener of Climate Action Canberra, which is one of the organisations that have sponsored tonight. Before I start, can I ask you all to turn off your mobile phones, as it would be great to have silence. May we bring into the room tonight our respect for the Ngunnawal people, their deep understanding of this land and all its cycles, and this understanding will be essential for our ability to adapt to climate change. Let us acknowledge their elders, past and present. Let us also acknowledge our ancestors, their hopes and dreams, and future generations, and their claim to the good life. may we put these considerations first and foremost in our climate decision making. The organisations that have sponsored tonight include the Australia Institute, Sea Change, the ACT Conservation Council, Climate Action Canberra, Canberra Environment and Sustainability Resource Centre. There's a bucket going around for donations, and your donations will be very welcome, as these activities require your support, not just volunteer hours, but also other forms of support. Our MC for this evening is Richard Dennis, who doesn't need much of an introduction, but he's a man who's equally at home with debating cynics at the pub as he is on the nightly news, being the voice of reason on climate change. Richard's the Executive Director of the Australia Institute, and he'll be our MC for tonight. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Anne, and I should also confess I'm the second best MC we could think of. Chris Johnson from the Canberra Times was going to MC tonight, but he's gone to Rooty Hill to cover the town hall meeting, so apologies from Chris. Look, a few housekeeping matters before we get underway. We've started a few minutes late, but we'll try to finish on time. We'll aim to finish up just after 7 o'clock. There'll be lots of time for questions. This really is an event that's designed to give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. So each speaker will begin with an opening response of 4 minutes to a question, which I'll read out in a minute. After those short presentations, it'll then be over to you for questions. If you would like to ask a question, we'd ask you to form a line in the middle. Serena, who's holding up a microphone at the moment, she'll be monitoring the microphone. But please wait until we've had the opening addresses, and please, we're very grateful that Senator Lundy and Lynn Hatfield-Dodds can be with us tonight, and I would insist that we all treat the speakers respectfully, and if you do like to ask a question, but make sure it's a question, not a statement. Keep your questions short, and let's allow the speakers to be heard in silence. The first speaker tonight will be Senator Lundy, followed by Lynn Hatfield-Dodds, and we have an apology from Gary Humphries, who hasn't been able to make it here tonight. He is sick. We're trying to see if we can get a statement or something that we can read out on his behalf, but I'm not sure if we've succeeded in that. So without any further ado, I'll ask Senator Lundy to address the question, which is, if elected, will you support what Canberrans want on emissions reductions, or will you support the party line on emissions?
Thanks very much. I too would like to acknowledge the Ngunnawal people, their elders past and present, and pay my respects to all of them and their ongoing contribution to our wonderful community here in Canberra. Thank you for that introduction to my fellow candidate, Lynn Hatfield-Dodds. And I think Dave Matthews is here, our second Labor Senate candidate. Dave, thank you for coming along. Everybody here tonight, thank you for being here.